What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, me and Doug here are going to get started on our install of the Hellion twin turbo kit on our new F-150 Super Snake Sport from Shelby. So the plan today is just to get our turbo kit installed. And if you guys missed the unboxing last video of this kit, I want to point out a few of the major differences between the typical Hellion F-150 kits and the kit that we kind of got custom spec'd in a way for our horsepower application that we're chasing. So in our case, we've got twin 62mm ball bearing Precision turbos with a Precision 50mm blow-off valve. Huge thanks to Precision Turbo and Engines for sending those over. Thank you guys a ton. Now, one of the perks about this kit is that it is basically an OEM Plus application. So we've got a bolt-on installation, really nice because it's basically designed around the same EcoBoost platform that everybody knows and loves and has been super successful, except for it's kind of like the bigger brother. We're doing it on a Coyote V8, a lot more power, a lot more torque, and a lot more fun. One of the cool things about this kit is that you can incorporate use of the stock manifold, so we're not gonna be replacing any headers or doing anything crazy like that. Direct, quick, bolt-on, and that's what we're gonna show you guys today. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the install of this turbo kit on the truck. All right, guys, first step that we need to do is take out this front grille to get it out of the way. Our intercooler is going to be fit behind here, so grill needs to get out of the way, as well as a few other stock parts once we get the truck up in the air. So we go ahead and get started. I think we're going to have to do a little bit of trimming, like Doug was saying yesterday, to some of the little plastic fins back there just to fit the intercooler. We didn't get the stock size intercooler that they typically send out with these. We got a little bit bigger race intercooler, and then we're shooting for a little bit higher horsepower goal.
5 digits.
5 digits.
Yeah.
All of the horse pressure.
That's right. Ta-da! Put the turbos on.
That's it. Let's go.
That was it.
And then I'm gonna have to pull off the fenders.
You can slide them up and off of these and then pull the pins if you want. Or you can pull the pin.
Well, I got them all pulled, but...
Well, no, there's also push tab pins that, yeah, so you either have to slide them up and off of it or you have to be gentle and try to pry it out ever so carefully. All right, you got it?
Yep.
Let's lay out a blanket actually, because we're gonna need some for these parts. If we did it for the $50,000 Viper, we should probably do it for the $100,000 truck.
All right, and this is our last little bit of bolts holding on the grill itself, so we can get this whole entire grill assembly removed and pulled out of the way. Hey, look, there's another hose just hanging out.
Hey, there's a heat exchanger for free.
As you guys know, these trucks typically come supercharged, not twin turboed. So got a heat exchanger that is typically here for the stock blowers that they install in these trucks, but we're not using that, of course, so off it comes. With this heat exchanger out of the way, we've definitely got plenty of room up here for an intercooler now. All right, guys, grill is out of the way. We're gonna finish attaching a few things just to hold everything in place. We've definitely got plenty of room up here for an intercooler now. Next step that we're gonna do is we're gonna put the truck up in the air, get started removing our stock Y pipe and our stock exhaust and getting that out of the way and ready to slap turbos back in its place. So, but before that, while we've already got it on the ground, pretty convenient. We're gonna go ahead and get this intake pulled off since we're gonna be routing a charge pipe and everything up into this place anyway. So we'll go ahead and get our intake that we just bought for $75 off Facebook Marketplace a few weeks ago. We already gotta take it off.
Does weight distribution look okay with everything in the bed area?
I think so. Is that you shaking it too? Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem too bad. Andrew brought up a valid point. We almost did something stupid. We almost lifted the truck up in the air with all the parts in the back. So we're gonna take the parts out that we're gonna have to use here in about 5 minutes.
Well, how would we do it the convenient way?
I know. Why couldn't we just lift the truck up in the air and send Andrew up there?
Yeah, that's right. He's already got a fishing reel on his head. He can reel himself up there.
All right, now we got the parts out, truck can go up. Oh, you know, one of the best things about a truck is there's just so much room underneath it to work with. It's quite beautiful. Shaky, shaky.
Yep, the way you test it, you walk under it.
All right, guys, truck is up in the air. Next step, that exhaust, we gotta get that thing pulled out of the way. Here, back, we're not even gonna have any more exhaust, so we're actually going to drop a pretty good bit of weight, at least in the exhaust. We might pick it up with a turbo or two, but hey, I think it'll be worth it at that point. So basically the way that we've got it set up right now is the Hellion kit, being that this is a little bit bigger turbo, well, it's a good bit bigger turbos. We've got a good bit bigger piping and stuff. So typically he's got a kit that will bolt up to your factory exhaust and everything works great. In our case, we've got a little bit bigger ID pipe. So what we're gonna be doing is our Y pipe here is gonna get pulled out. Our turbos are gonna get bolted up right here next to the transmission. And then we've got another new Y pipe that we're gonna have coming out of the turbos back to this location, and currently it's just set up to a dump, but we've got to get a custom fabbed exhaust here in the future, and basically the goal after that is to have an exhaust pretty much ran however that we want it to, or any kind of cool idea. I'm not really sure what we're going to do with it yet.
There we go. And now out. And here we go.
All right.
You got it?
Yep. Sweet. Our Shelby catback is out of the way. Next up, we've got to get this Y pipe off, get it out of the way, and then we'll be started installing turbos. Woo! Turbo time.
Yeehaw, brother.
Almost turbo time.
Yeehaw, brother.
The Y pipe is just about ready for removal. We've got all of our oxygen sensors pulled out. So next thing, we're gonna have to take our trans cross member out and support our transmission and also our transfer case, so that way we can get this all out of the way. I'm gonna take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, Precision Turbo, Turbo Smart, and also Hellion Power Systems. Thank you guys. Wow. Our transmission and transfer case is supported pretty good, so now we're gonna go ahead and pull our trans brace out.
He said pretty good. All right, 1 and 2.
I knew that was gonna happen. I'm glad it wasn't my eye. Do you wanna hold the brace and I'll hold the Y pipe?
Don't, yeah, you can Y pipe it and I'll pull the brace. You got it?
Yep.
All right. Oh, the heat shield. Yeah.
Oh, that one heat shield bolt.
Yeah. I did shoulders last night and I'm kind of feeling it a little bit.
I'm feeling it, and I didn't do shoulders, so. All right, Y pipe out of the way. Nice. It's factory. All right, guys. Looking at our instructions here, which are actually extremely, extremely great from Hellion, but looking at our instructions here, the next few steps that we're gonna have to do are honestly running a lot of vacuum lines and a lot of different zip tying brake lines here, or zip tying this or that here or there.
Mainly
a lot of that
oil
stuff.
feed.
Oil feed and a lot of stuff like that. And so these next steps honestly are extremely, extremely intricate and very tight in location. So it's gonna be hard to show a lot of this stuff. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick up tomorrow whenever we're actually able to start mounting the turbos. So for the rest of today, we're gonna go ahead and start figuring out oil feed, oil drain, scavenge pump. I think where we're at right now is we're gonna go ahead and call it for right now, do a few things off camera that we can't exactly get a camera in to show you guys. And then after that, we'll pick up and start installing turbos and getting all of our piping ran and everything like that starting tomorrow. So now normally we could skip over a lot of this stuff and just go ahead and go straight into bolting up the turbos like, you know, we normally would. But the thing is though, is that we are wanting to do this exactly to how Hellion wants it by their instructions. So we're gonna take it step by step and do it perfectly to their request. I think it's gonna come out better that way anyway. So anyway, like I said, tomorrow we're gonna pick up, start doing some big, big stuff. And hopefully we'll be able to start it tomorrow, so stay tuned. All right guys, we are back with day 2 of our turbo kit install on the F-150 from Hellion. And off camera, like I said, we had a few things that we needed to take care of, got them all out of the way, and today we are ready for a final assembly of our kit. But first, we wanna walk you guys through a few of the things that we had to do to get to this point of getting ready for a final assembly, of course.
So of course, Hellion includes their scavenge pump with this kit, and you've got the plate that bolts onto the front side that your scavenge pump mounts to. In order to turn this though, you have an accessory drive that's then mounted on the front of the crank pulley. They include this spacer with a cog drive here. And as your crank pulley turns, it's gonna turn your pump, which of course in turn will siphon the oil out of your turbos, sending them back up into the valve cover, completing your oil cycle there. And in addition to that, of course, they've got your oil feed fitting here. You gotta get kind of behind the alternator. It's tough to see, but basically you pull the alternator out of the way, clear out one thing, install a fitting that goes into the factory spot with a T, and then you come through here and you'll feed your oil back to the turbos from there. So feed in, comes back through the Scavenge pump, goes back into the top side.
So obviously with the turbos being mounted lower than the oil pan, we've got our feed line feeding the two turbos, but for oil to get pushed back up to the very top of the crankcase, the easiest way to do that is with that Scavenge pump. So oil comes in, we've got Scavenge pump pulling oil back out of the two turbos, dumping it back into the crankcase.
They also include, if you're wondering, since you do have two turbos, got a T-fitting here, you assemble, it's got check valves in line and also restrictors here. Being ball bearing turbos, you don't want too much oil volume flowing through there, blow the seals. Included with the kit, what we'll probably do is find a nice spot here somewhere along the frame rail, mount it in here.
Hook up both lines.
Hook up both lines, get going.
Other than that, if you come check out inside of here, you guys can see that we've got these up pipes mounted in place. Both sides are already mounted, and the reason why is because we actually had to test fit everything and get a mock fit just to get everything lined up, because as you guys see, whenever we go for a final assembly here in just a second, this kit is extremely tightly fit, and it's very tight tolerances, again, because we did go with upgraded turbos and upgraded piping and everything, so it's very tight. So we got everything test fit in place, it is perfect. And now we're gonna show you guys a final assembly. So the next thing that we're gonna do, now that the up pipes are in, is we're gonna grab our turbos and get started mounting the turbos. But yet again, one more thing to talk about with the turbos. So as you guys see, the turbos have kind of been assembled a little bit already. We've got wastegates on, we've got our oil feed lines in place. So basically with these turbos, we've got a little bit bigger wastegates. We're not going with these regular wastegates that this kit would come with. We went with a little bit bigger precision wastegates. So Doug went ahead and fabricated a custom bracket because the stock brackets were a little bit different than what are obviously the wastegates that come with this turbo, if you check it out.
So an off-the-shelf kit will come with the Borg Warner series turbos from this. And since we're doing a little bit of custom stuff here, trying to do something not quite as off-the-shelf, it's an internal wastegate, so it has your flapper back here. The only thing is, we wanted to run these particular wastegates here, your actuators for it, and they're not necessarily a bolt-on assembly. So what I had to do was be able to make a couple brackets here and make sure that they're in line in order to actuate the wastegate flap properly. But in order to do this, I had to hard mount everything, put the turbos where they had to be with the Y pipe because of frame rail, clearances, all the other stuff. So basically, it's already been mounted up, but that was because we had to fabricate some brackets here. If you get an off-the-shelf kit, it's gonna bolt on, it's gonna go, no problems there. This is just, once again, custom application, something a little bit different. All right, so for you guys not familiar with internal wastegates, it's actually an extremely common feature on factory turbo vehicles. What you have on this particular style, being an internal gate, you've got your inlet here, but if you look, this actuator attaches to a flapper, and if you look inside here, this flapper valve will actually open up as this rod pushes. So what it's doing is, instead of actually flowing exhaust gas through here the whole time, your internal flapper will open, bypass some of this exhaust gas volume past your turbine wheel, so therefore regulating how much you actually spool your turbo. Where you have an external gate, the difference is it doesn't have this internal flapper, you've just got your turbine housing, and you would have it before that on either a manifold, Y pipe, whatever you have going on. So your external gate would be literally external of the turbine housing. So you would have it come out here, bypass, and then
pre-turbo on the exhaust side.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Whereas this is technically internal, that's why it's an internal gate, and you have to have this paired in relation to it. And of course, it needs to be in line properly and at the correct height. So if you have this bound up in any way, it will not work properly, it'll hang up, you'll have issues. So that's why it was very important to get everything mounted and where it needed to be. That's internal versus external. That's what we've got with this one. And like I said, it's more of an OEM style application versus being external gate, venting the atmosphere.
Something else too to talk about while we're talking about wastegates is the fact that these wastegates are set up for 7-pound springs.
So the 7-pound spring is actually on the back side of this one. And what you're doing for the top side port, this is basically gonna give you 7 pounds of resistance. But whenever you wanna regulate how much boost you're seeing, you would actually apply it to the top side on this one, similar to an external style. It's just kind of inverted the way that it works. So instead of having a bottom port where you would feed into it and a top port, and with a 3-port controller that we're having, it's actually gonna vent off to atmosphere to regulate how much boost is gonna come into here. If you're really curious about how they actually work and internal and everything, just look it up. Internal versus external gate, learn. It's super simple.
All right, guys. Now that the explanation is out of the way and you guys kind of understand a little bit about what is going on here, I'll grab this turbo, pick it up in place, and hold it up here for Turbo Doug to install.
It should be at least close enough to hold us for right now.
Yep.
And we can clock it around as we get our Y pipe and everything fitted up.
Cool deal.
Now, if you notice all these marks I've got here, these are all clock marks to note where this housing has to go in relation to the center cartridge and the turbine housing. It's a very tight application. It's necessary to do it that way. And if you don't, you'll have things rattling all over the place. And
so that's what I was saying a minute ago, is the fact that we've got such a bigger turbo under here than what we're typically going with these kits. The fitment is so tight that you can't even really fit a pinky in between everything. But that is the crazy part about these kits, is that even with this upgraded turbo and this bigger piping and everything is actually fit pretty well. We didn't have to cut any frames or weld anything or do any massaging with a hammer. Everything actually fit pretty well. So I've been impressed so far with that.
It's tight, but it fits. But I mean, that's what you get whenever you do, aftermarket stuff. It's very close. And just snugged up a little bit. She's held in place. Okay, yeah, just enough to where we can still clock it a touch.
So there you go. 2 turbos are freaking in the truck. I don't know. This is crazy. This is a project that we have been talking about for a while. And a lot of times we have crazy ideas, but very rarely does it ever actually come to fruition. Here we are. There are 2 turbos and a freaking Shelby Super Snake Sport F-150. So anyways, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna get our Y-pipe put up in place.
So go ahead and slip that up through the backside there. And then kind of halfway into place, we'll have to push these clamps off to that side on the turbos.
All right, guys, the Y-pipe is in place. Next thing we need to do is tighten up the clamps that hold the turbo, well, technically the Y-pipe to the turbos.
You're gonna have to probably swing the turbos a hair too, just to get them exactly where you want them. It's all kind of a dancing game here.
So at this point, you guys are probably gonna ask, why? What are we gonna do with an exhaust? Yeah, there is a 4-inch dump just kind of stopped here for right now. But we're gonna figure out something for an exhaust, of course, even if it's for temporary, just turning it down at a 90 and just pointing it straight at the ground. We'll figure something out. But again, for the first start, this is what you guys are gonna be hearing, is just a 4-inch open dump from both turbos. So for our first start today, it should sound pretty freaking good. We are completely done with hot side at this point. That's actually the biggest key benefit to the Hellion kit, is everything is just bolt on. You don't even have to take the headers off at all. You just bolt them all to stock manifolds and go from there. It's pretty nice. Hot side taken care of. Next up, we need to do cold side. So we're gonna come out of the turbos and get all the way plumbed up to where our intercooler is gonna be up front. And then we gotta do a charge pipe from intercooler to throttle body. So obviously before we start on all of our cold side routing to the intercooler, we need to mount an intercooler. So we're gonna lower the truck down and get started showing you guys how to mount the intercooler on this thing. So at the front of the truck right here, we've gone ahead and done a few things in prep for installing our intercooler. So if you guys see, we've got a few things just hanging out of the way for the hood release, connectors, things like that, just because the upper mount for our bracket on the intercooler is gonna mount to these 2 holes here. And now down at the bottom, as you guys see, we've got this other bracket in here as well. This bracket bolts to these 2 factory holes here, so it's pretty easy, no problem at all. The last thing is this shroud down here in front of our AC condenser. We've cut these back on 2 sides, and that is literally the only bit of trimming that we're gonna be doing for now to install the entire intercooler. Super simple. Now that we've pretty much got all the explanation out of the way, we've got our intercooler over here, so we can go ahead and grab it and get started setting it up in place.
Yep, and a little tip for you guys if you're doing it on your own, a little touch of tape will help hold these spacers onto these so you don't have to cuss at your own truck when you're doing this.
So intercooler literally just slides in pretty easy. Like Doug was saying, these studs at the bottom are nice because they slip into these holes in the bottom of the bracket. Okay. Harness over our brackets for the upper intercooler mount.
And we'll take that and we'll hold it for a second, and we will not do that. So top side's mounted now. We'll go ahead and start our nuts with our lock washers on the bottom.
Hell yeah.
And we've got something to work with there. So we'll go ahead and feed our Y pipes up from our cold side. Come up here, come out of here, snake around the bottom, feeding into the throttle body with the supplied pipes. And
hell yeah.
That'll be the majority of it.
One of the coolest things about it is that we've got a black intercooler. So people, if you see this truck, typically everybody thinks they're supercharged. So it's gonna be a little bit more fun because the intercooler is real sneaky and suspicious in there. So intercooler tucked away real nicely. And something else you guys are gonna see here shortly is whenever we run our charge pipe, it's gonna be pretty funny because the turbos are mounted down low on this truck. So when you pop the hood, you'll literally just see one charge pipe and that's it. So it's kind of a little sleeper setup, if you will.
It's a cold air intake, bro.
Yeah. All right, guys. So after the intercooler, we've got to do all the cold side piping, so we're going to yet again get the truck back up in the air and get started from the turbos to the intercooler running piping.
You act so nervous with this one.
Huh?
You act so nervous.
Hell yeah, dude. It's a lot of weight tilting back and forth. So from the bottom side, it's really easy to see what I was referring to a minute ago now that the intercooler is in, but you see where this plastic shroud got trimmed back? Now we've got our inlet and outlet of the intercooler, not rubbing anything, no problems. And these studs down here, that's what we're referring to with our nuts. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten those up and our intercooler will be firmly mounted.
There we go. Now we got an intercooler mounted.
Sweet. All right, so going back with what I was saying, from turbos all the way up to the front, we've got all this cold side piping that we've already gone ahead and laid out. Like I said, for test fit, making sure that we had everything, we went ahead and already assembled the couplers and everything else that we pretty much need to get these installed. And we've got them laid out in a general area for where they go.
Something that's pretty neat about this kit is they actually supply standoffs with little frame clips. So you see these little pads here? These will actually go and bolt up to the lower part of the frame rail just underneath the engine to help support these on both sides, and that gives you a reference point to build all the rest of the intercooler piping off of. So it literally just holds it so you can build off of it on your own if you're doing this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not bad.
Leave them a little bit loose, and then you can go ahead and start getting all the rest of it mocked up. We'll of course throw some clamps on here.
Look at this, like some of the piping to be able to route from the bottom of this truck from the trans area all the way to the front. It's quite interesting because of where you're going through. So we've got between the K-member, between everything else, we've got piping being ran now. So everything again is pretty tight, but it actually fits really nice, surprisingly nice actually.
Yeah, so they provided all the clamps assorted by size for us. We got a large, smalls, a couple of mediums. These are probably for the turbine outlets if I had to guess. Some of the smaller, very tight area intercooler pipings, and this is gonna be for larger clamps like our 3-inch going into the inlet for the intercooler, charge pipe, and the Y pipe that's going right there. A little snaky do.
A little tight, you weren't kidding.
Yeah. There you go.
Nice. So there you go. You guys can pretty much see at least now a general idea of how the cold side goes. Pretty impressively intricate actually. From both turbos, it's pretty crazy. It goes up around the sway bar, up around this K-member, and literally somehow manages to clear everything. But I mean,
just barely.
Just barely, but it does. It really does. It's pretty cool. And again, this is normally not anywhere close to this tight. Whenever you get the typical Hellion kit, we just went a smidgen overboard. You could probably fit a credit card, maybe a pencil between the drive shaft and this cold side.
It's very tight, but that's, I mean, whenever you're working with a full wheel drive truck and retaining all OEM components, it fits. It definitely fits. It's tight, but you can make it. But you better not start tightening things up before you know it all goes where it needs to go.
Yeah, definitely don't tighten one thing and then the next. You gotta literally have it all mounted loose and then organize it all to how you need it to all go and tighten it down. Oil line is gonna get ran down and out of the way. So we've got clearance between the drive shaft by about a finger. We've got clearance between the hot side up here coming down from the manifolds by about a finger. And then also on our drive shaft right here on the cold side, going up towards our intercooler, we've got right at about a finger. Probably need to clock that down a little bit, but we'll figure that out. All right guys, so if you see underneath here, we've got cold side piping at least just mocked up and snugged up in place. Looks really, really, really good, honestly, especially with clamps on it. You really can get a picture for what it's gonna look like finished. Next up, from our cold side, we need to go from our Y pipe section here, which is basically joining up the cold side of both turbos into a single pipe to go into our intercooler. And before the intercooler, we've got a blow-off valve. So on this pipe right now, Doug is over there getting the blow-off valve fastened to the actual pipe itself. And then we're gonna put it between the intercooler and this Y pipe section.
All right, so we've got blow-off valve mount. You notice it has a little notch here. Very nice precision unit. It's gonna go on here. In order to get this to seal though, you want this O-ring on here. Just like anytime you're doing injector O-rings or anything like that, you want to make sure you put a little bit on here. You need to make sure that they're lubed up a little bit so that you don't end up pinching, tearing, anything like that. You get boost leaks, you'd be chasing that stuff for days, never know where it's at. So we'll take that, take our unit here, open our clamp up. As you see, it's got the little male to female locking surface here. So we'll take this, open it up, feed it on over, make sure that you're seated all around, no pinches. You can even take this and spin it a little bit to make sure that you get it seated into place. There's a little pass through and your threaded portion here. So you'll take this, turn to the side.
So it works almost kind of like a T-bolt clamp.
Yeah, it's basically just a T-bolt clamp. It's pretty much what it is.
That's pretty neat.
So you'll pass that through here, pass this one through here. Yep, I'm gonna hold it for a second. And then we'll take this, we'll start our threads. Make sure you don't cross thread it. There we go. And we'll leave this to where we can clock it a little bit. Which way do you want it facing? It's gonna be up inside the vehicle. You want precision down, you want precision up, you want, it don't matter to you?
Either way.
Okay, it don't. I mean, you're never really gonna see it, so I'll just put this in line with this, the bottom of that, and I'll put precision in line with that. And then of course we'll run our vacuum line, boost line up to that top port, and that way it knows when to go suited to.
So essentially the purpose of a blow-off is before the intercooler, if you're immediately, let's say you're wide open throttle at 10 pounds of boost and you immediately let out of the throttle, you don't want it, the throttle body is closing, so you want that boost that is stuck between turbos and throttle body to evacuate before, you know, boom, or overpressurize or blow a couple or anything like that.
Or compressor surge.
Or compressor surge.
Yeah, that's the majority of it's compressor surge.
Really?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I actually didn't even know that. You can explain that then.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's basically what blow-off valve does, is if you have all this pressure and the throttle body suddenly closes, it's gonna go one of two places, either into the engine somehow, but with the throttle body closed, it can't do that, or it's gonna have to go and backfeed through the compressor housings, which is literally how you get that surge on like old, you know, super turbos and stuff like that. And it's just like, whenever you close the throttle, that's what this does. So it literally opens up, vent atmosphere, all that extra pressure inside your charge pipe. That way you don't backspin the turbos, eating up bearings, all that kind of good stuff. And that's the housings that are on these, the race housings with the little surge ports.
Is that what those are? Dude, we were sitting there trying to figure out what those little things are.
Yeah, so that's essentially what it is. It's a little channel inside there. So if this doesn't technically evacuate all of it, instead of it backspinning the compressor wheel 100%, it has a little channel that's machined inside of that area. So you might still get a little bit of light surge, but the majority of it is going to vent out to that first channel and then distribute out through those extra valve, the little
the
veins
holes in there. No kidding.
Yeah, so that's why it used to be called anti-surge housings.
Really?
But now they're just called race housings.
Oh.
So
well,
and it does make a different sound as far as the intake goes, but that's what it was originally designed for. For anti-surge purposes. Whenever you had lack of blow-off valve compensation.
Turbo Doug back at it again.
Something like that.
I'll be honest, I'm learning the most turbo stuff today. I thought I knew a decent bit about turbos, but it's just going further and further today.
The more you know.
The more you know, yeah.
The more you know.
Turbo Doug.
Little ploppy do there, little turny do here, and we'll get everything lined up.
So there you guys could kind of get an idea of where this is going to be placed in line with our cold side. So Y pipe, got our blow-off valve, and then obviously up into the intercooler now. All right, we'll get these clamps out of the way. And from the bottom here on the intercooler side, Doug's gonna go ahead and place this pipe. It's essentially just a little 90 to get the, I guess the cold side piping technically to go under the radiator support and everything.
So technically this, as far as intercooler piping goes, will be the hot side intercooler piping, cold side intercooler piping. We're gonna go from here up into our charge pipe, and we can feed it up, snake it through very carefully here, up to near where we're at our throttle body. And we'll just go for a little test here, make sure, and that looks like it's gonna be okay there.
Before we tighten down any of the clamps on this piping right here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and lower the truck down, connect it to our throttle body, obviously just to get everything at least hard mounted before tightening everything down. Remember, that is a key and crucial point. So once again, let's bring the truck down. Down she goes. All right, so now obviously looking back at the top side of the engine bay, Intercooler's in, charge pipe on the bottom is at least placed. Now you guys can see that the charge pipe is coming out right about where it needs to. Last step, we've got this 90-degree elbow that we're gonna run from the throttle body back to the charge pipe, get that mocked up, and then honestly, every bit of the cold side will be done.
Then we can go back through, sequentially tighten up all our clamps. Yep, we'll go from there, make sure everything looks good. And we'll make sure we don't bury that too far into where it interrupts the throttle body opening and closing, but we also want it to fit just snug enough. So that actually looks pretty good right there.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Now our big, gaudy, ugly air box is all out of the way. More room for activities, of course. Everything is fit very, very nicely, honestly.
This would make for a nice spot for a big old catch can, I think, actually.
Yeah, it really would, to be honest. Well, there we go, guys. With that being said, officially, our cold side piping is done. Our turbo kit, technically, in a sense, is installed. We've got a few more miscellaneous things here and there that we need to do. Obviously, oil lines, yeah, tighten up clamps, things like that. But this is going pretty smooth. So once again, I want to give a huge, huge thanks to Hellion. We're going to go ahead, finish up tightening up everything that we need to, and then we're going to get ready for a first start. All right, guys, so we're underneath the truck. We just got everything pretty much finished up. A lot of zip ties holding some lines together, but it looks freaking phenomenal. Like, really, really does.
We got our oil lines and everything completed, teed in together, feeding back into our Scavenge pump intake. Got our oil feed line here, splitting out with turbos and restrictors in our housings here, snaking all through this area.
At this point, basically what we're doing is we're just underneath the truck, going through essentially what you would call a final inspection and going and looking over every single nut and bolt that we've done to make sure that everything is good. After that, we're gonna go to the top of the truck, repeat the exact process, make sure everything's good up there. So far, everything down low looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think we look good down here. Oil fittings are in, all this is done, the wastegates are on, everything's tightened up. I mean, we'll have to run vacuum lines for boost control, but just for first start and pressure check and stuff and oil check, we won't need all that. And we're gonna do that when we do fuel system with all of our vacuum block and everything anyway, so.
Like Doug said, typically the first start wouldn't have to happen at this point, but the only reason that we're doing it is because before we install the entire fuel system and everything, if we've got a problem, we're gonna go basically take it in chunks. Turbo kit's done, we're gonna start it up, check for leaks, check for anything possible that could be going on that we need to fix before going and doing fuel system. Next steps, we're gonna be doing fuel system and everything. Just trying to make sure everything's taken care of one step at a time. Down we go. Up front, we got the intercooler and everything tightened up already. We've already checked over all of our connections on this. So next thing that we need to do really is under the hood and double check over everything. So this is from the Scavenge pump up. And like I was saying, it has to return back to the crankcase. So the easiest place to do that is our oil fill cap. So instead of an oil fill cap now, got this nice fitting. If we need to change the oil, just unscrew that, fill the oil on the top. Whenever you're done, clip. Pretty simple. You know, I'm actually curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Comment down below and let me know if you're as excited as you are, or as I am, I guess, for this build. This is, in my opinion, like probably not the most excited for a build that I've been. I think the GT350, I was hands down like the most excited. I just think that this is like the coolest in a way. Honestly, I think the reason why this is so cool is just because this is what the freaking race truck was supposed to be. But that situation didn't exactly pan out how I intended it. But hey, we're in like month 1 of owning this truck, and this one's already twin turbos. So we're doing good so far with this one. All right, before we get started trying to go for a first start, yet again, I just want to say before we even try, thank you so much, Hellion. Thank you so much, Precision. Thank you so much, Avalon King, FIC, 4. Like we can, list goes on and on. A lot of great companies have been involved in making this happen. And I just wanted to stop and say, yet again, I appreciate you guys a ton. If you guys want to go check out any of these companies that have sponsored this build's products, make sure you click the link down below in the description. We've got a link to literally every one of their sites. So you can go check out anything that they've got. I promise we only work with the best, luckily, at this point with this truck. This is like the best of the best of the best on every part, on every front. And this is what I think I'm most excited for. This is like the pinnacle of race trucks. And I'm so happy that we're gonna be able to build this thing. So hell yes.
Gentlemen, the time has come.
Oh man. Oh boy.
Oh, it's that time.
Is it snake time?
It is snake time.
Whooshy boy snake time?
Yes.
Hank had twins.
Hank indeed did have twins.
It's almost red time for dang it Bobby time.
Dang it, Bobby time.
Why is the sun so bright?
What you doing there, bud? Yep, that's right. Whipping something up.
You making a catch can?
Mm-hmm. Real quick. Something just whipping it up.
A real quick light catch can appears out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I think that'll work.
Yeah?
Shove it in. Monster. We're trying to get
Oh,
sponsors
that would
here.
be cool.
We're trying to get sponsors here, all right? So yeah, that's how this is gonna go. That's what we're doing right now. This is a promotion.
Don't look too bad.
There you go. That's it.
Hell yeah.
Ready for the track.
I think we're ready. Are we ready?
Sure, why not?
Ooh. Ooh. All right. You want me to prime it? A few turns. Damn, I'm nervous.
Don't be.
We got oil pressure.
Hell yeah.
All right. Good. Prime it again. And check for oil leaks on the bottom side.
Y'all throwing holy water on there?
Try it one more time. Yeah, I don't see any drippy drops.
Hell yeah. That means all our fittings must be sealed because that's a lot of oil pressure. It was almost at the H. This truck doesn't even have linear or numerical oil pressure. L and H.
All right, I guess we're ready for a start then.
All right.
First twin turbo start. Excuse me? Yo! Excuse me? What?
Oh.
I'm about to whoop your ass.
Yo. Yo.
Yeah, she gonna smoke.
The typical high five after some shaking back on it. Yes. Holy shit.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like fast.
Yeah.
You look like a proud Texan right now.
Dude, I am so just ecstatic about this. Honestly.
I wanna do an experiment. It's actually kind of a necessary one though.
Okay.
Go ahead and kill it for a second. All right. I'm gonna take this and put it in here to make sure it's returning.
Oh, yeah.
All right, go ahead and start it up again.
Okay.
Yeah, just briefly.
Dude, the turbos.
Pretty good on startup.
Yes, dude.
8 mile digs all day, every day.
I know. That's what I said right before we started up. I was like, I don't even know how long it's been that I have been just wanting to have a turbo truck. It's honestly, I think, been 5 fucking years. I've got every car that I can imagine. I just have always wanted a fucking turbo truck. It's been simple as shit. Like the cheapest, simplest, not this one, but typically, I'm saying typically a turbo truck is like, that's where people start with. Somehow, I have never gotten to have that shit.
Ooh, I can't wait to see this thing.
Me either, bruh. Me either.
I sell Gap and Gap accessories.
The cool thing about this is that it is a little heavy, but it is awesome because essentially what we just built is a twin turbo Mustang that's 4-wheel drive on a truck chassis. So it's pretty fucking cool, I'm not gonna lie.
We need to put her on a diet.
Yeah. Being a 10-speed, I am real excited to see how this thing does, especially from a dig. Being 4-wheel drive, it's gonna be pretty damn intense. But anyways, turbo kit is pretty much done. First start, done. Next up that we're gonna be doing, we gotta go through, do fuel system, do injectors. We gotta wait on our device to come in to flash our tune onto it, and then hopefully later on this week or next week, we're gonna have the truck up on the dyno, do our dyno runs, get our hopefully tune ironed out for pump gas. And once that one is done, our boost controller is going to come in handy because we're going to be swapping E85 and starting E85 tuning, getting our E85 tune done. And then after that, this truck is going to be ready to rock and roll and go see what it does on the street. So sadly, I can't even really do anything today, but this is inspirational to say the least, to be able to hear the damn thing run. So a week from now, we'll be making hits in a truck fast. That is crazy to think about, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, I am really, 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 really excited about this fucking truck.
Sí, quema.
I don't even know what else to say at this point, to be honest.
Wrap it up.
This is fucking sick. I'm so fucking excited about this.
Every dollar spent.
I think what Daniel was trying to say is thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe, drop a like on this video, and comment down below. And let us know what you're excited to see with this truck. And by the way, if you haven't already, go grab your entries at www.itsjust6.com right now. Every dollar that you spend on the site is going to get you another automatic entry and to win the GT350 that we're giving away. It's pretty fucking sick. Just got done doing a lot of mods to it. Got a lot more coming. But first, truck. Make sure you guys stay tuned for next video. We're going to be doing fuel system, tuning this thing, going out on the street, all the stuff that you guys are going to be expecting in the next week or two. I promise this is not the one to miss. So stay tuned.